everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is RACHELRAE and I'm here with a special guest today who you all really missed, James.
Ah, that's nice. Hi everybody.
Today we're back with Theory Tuesday and we have something very, well, it's not cryptids, but it's related to the whole, creepy stuff, right? Or the origins of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we'll get into it in just a minute. I want to let everybody know what I'm using. This tray, I don't even remember actually where I bought it. So if you remember, leave me a comment and then I'll put a link in the description box. I think I got this while I was in the States earlier this year. Isn't it cool? It's got my name on it.
That is pretty cool.
It has a stopper that's shaped like a diamond, and it's made out of this glittery material. What is it called?
I guess PVAs are not. Sorry,
no,
PTG. Is that what it is? The most.
Feel it. It's cool. This is a pen that was sent to me as a gift from Enabler's Outpost, and I definitely have their link below. Check them out. It's got one of their gold tips on it as well, in a 4-placer. Tweezers are from Treasure Studios Art, and then this, I don't know if you've seen this. This is actually from Fee, Diamond in the Rough. She does a lot of resin crafts on her channel, and she sent this to me like years ago. So I'm going to use this for my trash drills today. So that's that. I'm using release papers. I've got the Diamond Art Club ones and the Star Wars ones. I'll link them down below for you too if you're looking for them. And let's start a new section. Look at the kitty. Do you see the kitty? I don't know if you can see the kitty, but there's a cat here laying on top of the books. I'm just going to move him up so you can see. There's his eyeballs, and there's the book. And there's a second book, so we're going to work on some more books today. So, let me just adjust that camera. So, what are we talking about today, James?
This is something I prepared before everything got a bit crazy for me, and I didn't have time,
That's okay.
And it was nothing less than a complete rundown of the UFO conspiracy.
Like the OG conspiracy.
The OG conspiracy, yeah. There's, as time goes on, different flavors develop within it, but this is the OG conspiracy because it has to do with people were requesting blue books and stuff like that, and you can't really talk about that without getting into.
Is a blue book like the military thing?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's
just in case anybody's not familiar with.
No, it's a project they set up. We'll talk about it, but it's a project they set up to look into the UFO phenomenon,
okay,
if you will. And I guess what this is just an overview of why by the 90s were you talking about a cultural space where the X-Files makes perfect sense, you know what I mean, yeah, so it's that kind of thing,
okay,
and yeah, okay, will we just fire into it? We just fire into it?
Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess I'm as ready as I'm going to be now. So I was looking at the notes I made for this,
mm-hmm.
and it turns out, and I knew this, that I am not good at making notes. So there's loads of stuff in there, and I can tell that I was thinking, I don't have to be more accurate about this. I'll remember it. I'm going to be doing this in 3 days' time,
That was like a month ago?
Yeah, it was like a month ago. So I guess the important thing is, that it all kicks off in 1947.
Okay, 1947.
1947. So on June 24th in 1947,
mm-hmm.
there's this pilot. He's not a professional pilot, it's like piloting is his hobby or whatever,
Yeah.
I would imagine he might have been in the army during World War II and stuff like that. But his name is Kenneth Arnold. Yeah?
An American. He's
in America, yeah. And he's flying from... All of this happens in America.
Yeah.
No one's ever worried about, now they are, and there's all these different stories. Oh, the Russians have got a UFO, the French, the English, they've got a UFO, but that's a pretty recent thing,
Right. So the OG ones are in America.
Yeah, all of the whole thing really kicks off there, in the 80s and 90s people started to come out, and even later, to be honest, people started to come out and going, oh, there was a crash in 1933 in Italy, you know what I mean?
Right.
That sort of thing. But yeah, for the most part, the OG, the government have got secret space alien technology, you know. That's a very American thing until about the 70s or 80s, and then even later before people start writing scurrilous books and stuff, you know.
Scurrilous.
So this guy Kenneth Arnold, anyway, I believe he's flying from Idaho over into Washington State, you know.
Okay.
And he's flying past this mountain, Mount Rainier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's the largest mountain in Washington State.
Sure is.
I believe it might even be the largest mountain in that region.
Yeah, it's huge.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen photos. It looks like the Paramount Mountain, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like on its own. It's not like the Rockies where you've got like a whole range.
You know, I saw that, yeah. It just seems to be just shooting up out of the landscape, like. Suspicious. How did it get there? How did it get there? So he's flying anyway, and he sees these 9 objects, and he estimates that they're traveling at like 1,200 miles an hour. That's about 2,000 kilometers an hour. It's really, really fast.
Yeah.
I would think even by today's standard, it's pretty fast. But he said, like, so there's 9 of them flying in formation, and he said they were kind of going up and down like stones that are skipping across the water. Mm-hmm. You know, like you skip across a lake surface or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've all skipped stones. So he's saying they're moving like that. They're moving incredibly fast. There's 9 of them, and they're moving in sequence. And that's kind of like the first major report, you know? Yeah. By someone, especially someone in an aircraft, a civilian in an aircraft, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of where the term UFO comes from. I actually have a photo of him. What he's describing is not a saucer. It's more like a boomerang. And I have a photo of him there holding up a picture of what he saw, if you want to...
Okay. That's the picture of the ship. Sorry, operator issues.
That is the...
that is the first sighting.
Yeah, I mean, there's ones before that, and I mean, there was even... I guess this is where the UFO craze really takes off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it really gets legs here. It's such a famous incident, you know? Mm-hmm. And then around about the same time, so that was in June of 47. Mm-hmm. And then in late June or early July of 47, that's when the big incident happens.
Okay.
And it is the one that you're thinking of in your head.
Yeah.
Which is?
Roswell.
It's the one. Yeah. So, basically what happens here is this guy, William, they call him Mac Brazel. He's a ranch foreman, and he works on this Foster ranch, you know. It's about 30 kilometers away from Roswell. About 30 miles away from Roswell, about 50 kilometers, which I gather in New Mexico is not really that great a distance.
Probably not.
You know? So he's out there, he's working on the ranch, he's out checking on the livestock, riding the fences, you know? And he sees a load of debris. And the timeline here is unclear. Like, in some stories, he waits about a week or two, and then he's like, you know, maybe I should tell someone about this debris I've seen all over the ranch. And then in other stories, he goes in the next day. But either way, he tells the sheriff in Roswell, you know? Yeah. And the sheriff in Roswell hears his description, lots of this metallic stuff spread over a large area and everything, you know? Mm-hmm. And he thinks, well, I'd best get on to Roswell base, you know? Yeah. So he gets on to Roswell base, and then that's where the next really major character in this whole thing arrives, like, and it's Jesse Marcel, you know? Okay. And Jesse Marcel is a major, he's in the 158th, I think, or no, sorry, 509th Bomb Group intelligence. And depending on where you look, like, sometimes they say, oh, he's something akin to a PR man, and other people say he's a spook, you know? Okay. But either way, what happens is that on July the 7th, I think, the sheriff's office notify them. Mm-hmm. He gets a detail up. They go out with some trucks. They go to the area and they pick up some or possibly all of the debris. Mm-hmm. And then on the next day, the 8th of July, Jesse Marcel releases a press release to, like, local radio stations, local news, about how there's a possibility that they've got a flying saucer and that it crash landed on this ranch. So he just came out and said that. And, like, he's a pretty... Like, he has a big he has a big military career, you know, before this, like.
Okay.
You know, it's not like he's coming out, he's just some Joe Schmuck or whatever. Like, I think he was involved in some of the bomb tests on Bikini Atoll and stuff after the World War, you know, after World War II and stuff like that. Which would have only taken place only a short while before all of this, you know?
Okay.
So he was, I mean, like, he was well thought of, he was well regarded and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, he comes out with this press release saying that, oh yeah, it's a UFO, you know? And that's on July the 8th. And then around about the same time, something happened because he had to start backpedaling and saying that it wasn't a UFO, and that actually what it was a type of weather balloon.
Okay.
So then he has to give a press conference, and this will be just a few days after he's released the thing about it being a possible UFO.
Yeah.
And it's a press conference with him, with all the debris and stuff. Do you want to have a look at him at the press conference?
Yeah, sure.
So this is him at the press conference. And like, if you're interested in the UFO thing in any way, you have seen this image before. Or you have seen this image taken from slightly to the right.
Yeah.
You know? But that's him. That's Jesse Marcel.
Huh.
There he is.
So
he's what it is the official story, and I believe this came out a long time later, was that this was a high altitude stratospheric weather balloon, which is also, do you remember when we were talking about the Friendship case and the UFO that was spotted near December over Buenos Aires, is it? No, wait, Chile, Santiago, over Santiago. The UFO that was spotted there, they say that was a French stratospheric observation balloon as well. So these are popular things, like, and like my dad was a meteorologist, you know, and I mean I went with him when he was setting off balloons and stuff, and when they're up a couple of 100 meters and they're being buffeted around by the breeze, they really do look like UFOs, you know. That's not me being a shill now or anything.
You're a sellout.
So anyway, because of the whole Roswell thing and all of this excitement, the army, the Air Force basically starts to panic, and they're like going, we have got to nip this in the bud, you know?
Right.
So the skies belong to us. We can't just have people reporting UFOs. We need to investigate this. Yeah?
Okay.
So they set up this project called Project Sign. Yeah? And that's a short-term kind of project. And they set that up in 1947, the same year. The next year, it changes into something called Project Grudge.
Okay.
Which has a longer timeline.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because presumably they got more funding for it or something. I don't know. And then basically, Project Grudge lasts about 4 or 5 years, and then by 1952, it has turned into the one that we know as Project Blue Books.
Oh, so it was okay.
Yeah, so it's a number of different projects, and in 1952 it turns into Project Blue Books. Now, a main character in Project Blue Books is this guy, Alan J. Hynek. Do you want to see Alan J. Hynek?
Okay.
Here, have a...
Okay.
That's Alan J. Hynek.
Ooh, nice hat. He looks like he's in a movie.
Yeah, he's handsome, isn't he?
It's a real guy, is it?
Yeah, Alan J. Hynek, yeah. He's a real guy.
He looks like that guy, that actor. What's his face?
What? That's silly.
Are you
No,
joking
he's
with
a
me?
real guy, Alan J. Hynek.
Yeah, no, I know he's a real guy, but he looks like that Irish actor that played Littlefinger.
Aidan Gillen? God, I wouldn't say so, no.
I mean, he's a little bit more, he's a little heavy.
I'm gonna level with you. This is Aidan Gillen from...
Are you joking me?
And he plays J. Allen Hynek in the sci-fi series Blue Books.
You can't fool me.
So here he is anyway. But he's a real guy.
Yeah, sure.
He's a real guy, and he used to... What it is that he's a professor of astronomy, you know? And he used to work with the army during World War II. Because everybody with any kind of technical expertise, worked with the army during World War II.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So he worked on, apparently, from what I've read, switches, on developing really top of the range switches.
That's what you want.
Yeah. So afterwards, the army basically had a look at their books, and they were like, "Well, this guy, HR department still has his contact details. He's an astronomer. We need a no-nonsense astronomer to do, to look into these things."
Some great switches.
Yeah, and if we ever need switches, he's the man to ask about it as well. So they get Hynek on board,
Okay.
And then Blue Book really has two kind of goals, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And it's to determine if UFOs are a national security risk.
Right.
Because that's what these guys always say,
I mean, that's important.
Yeah, and then the other thing is to analyze the data and see what kind of conclusions they can be drawn,
Right.
So in order to do this, there's a number of different guys that are in charge of this, but let's strip it down and just say that Blue Book ran on,
Mm-hmm.
Hynek is starting to become a little disillusioned, because he thinks that sometimes there isn't an explanation, but the Air Force is like, well, we need the most likely one, and we need you to publish that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is going on, and then in 1963, this guy Hector Quintanilla takes over,
mm-hmm.
and he is a no-nonsense patriarch of the United States Air Force. Do you want to have a look at him? That is Hector.
Is that a clear globe?
He's got the whole world.
Wait, is that the atmosphere?
That's the Earth inside of a clear globe. Hector not he doesn't have the Earth. He has the Earth and like thousands of kilometers around it in his hand. You didn't even have
the whole world.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I don't know.
Don't Hector that, man. So that's terrible. I am so sorry.
Don't Hector that, man.
I'm so sorry.
You were not sorry.
Yeah, so like I said, like this is kind of a process of Hynek becoming more and more disillusioned with his job in it,
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to lie.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lie, like. So he has this thing. He has this thing as well, right? And it's
Is it a switch?
No. He has this thing. I actually haven't taken any notes out of it about it.
Okay.
So I am going to just try and do it out of the top of my head, because this is the thing. There was this incident in like the late 60s in Ann Arbor, Michigan,
Ooh, yeah.
And over a kind of protracted period, I don't recall, a lot of very credible witnesses. Now, whenever you hear very credible, you should be thinking this person is a professional, or more than likely is a police officer or in the army. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, they never really... That's who they say when they say people are credible. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, some bum on the street, he's not credible. But, like, a police officer or whatever, And I guess that's fair enough. I mean, like, that's what they're known for. But anyway, so a lot of credible people had seen this. And what it was moving lights,
Okay.
all moving around the place. And Hynek is asked to investigate it. And at the end of it, he says, I really don't know if we can say what this was. And the Air Force says, like, we've been here before, like, say what you think it's most likely. And he said, well, I don't, it could be swamp gas, or this is literally what he said, like the swamp gas, or it could be, reflected off of Jupiter or something, So this is the classic, when you talk about, like, oh, that's not a likely debunking. This is where that classic swamp gas thing comes from.
Oh.
And it's basically what happened was he said he didn't think he could say that, and then the Air Force railroaded him into a press conference. I believe they might have even had the press conference set up, not told him about it until about 20 minutes before it was happening, and then pushed him out on stage in front of the reporters, you know. He gave the swamp gas line. People in Michigan are like, what do you think, we're stupid up here in Michigan? I don't even know if that's the accent.
It's definitely not.
I'm not good at accents. So they get really annoyed. He's a bit annoyed with the Air Force. He's disillusioned with it, you know.
Yeah.
And then that's the crack. He said as well that he felt that basically they just had him in there to debunk stuff. You know? And I have a photograph here, which I've marked in my notes, but I'm not sure what it is. So let's have a look and see.
Okay.
So this is an interesting. That's the real J. Allen Hynek. That's him there.
He looks like a KFC guy. He's like
He
a
looks-
colonel in his young years.
He does look like the KFC guy. Now,
It's making me hungry.
the important thing to realize here is that he's talking about debunking. And do you recognize the photograph that he's holding? Do you remember I was saying that there was a guy called George Adamski that would be funny to look into as well for the crack?
When did you say that?
Oh, I said that weeks and weeks, like
right.
months ago. Like
That looks like a bucket hat.
George Adamski was a friend of the Italian diplomat that ended up in Rio de Janeiro because he just wouldn't shut up about UFOs. Do you remember from the friendship case?
Yes.
So anyway, this is one of Adamski's photos of UFOs. Adamski is the guy who came up with the Space Brothers and stuff.
If you haven't watched the friendship case, please go watch that video we made. It'll make a lot more sense, and
So-
it's really funny.
This is Hynek holding up the Adamski thing, just for the debunking thing, you know?
Yeah.
So he's a little bit disillusioned.
Sure.
Yeah. So then in 1969 he leaves it. He leaves Blue Books. Yeah?
Yeah.
Hynek, yeah. It's around about the end of its time anyway. At the time it had collected over 12,600 UFO reports. Hynek goes on to release a number of books, and in them he kind of states, yeah, you know, there's a logical explanation for 80% of this, but then there's 20% where you just can't explain it, and there's a fraction of those that are absolutely inexplicable, you know?
Yeah.
Like that you just cannot explain. He also starts doing the UFO circuit at that time, giving speeches like this, you know?
Right.
During the 70s. And like, there's always been a kind of like a circuit for UFO people. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it was really kind of taking off here, like at this time. In fact, he might have even been kind of responsible for it, you know? There's characters like he gets, well, we'll talk about that later. Like. But anyway, so he writes a book as well. And in this book, he details types of encounters that you can have with UFOs. And he details, like, of the first kind, where you see one, you know? Of the second kind, where you see one and there's some interaction with reality. Like, you know, it's not just a light in the sky. You've seen a character or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's scorch marks on the earth where you said the UFO landed. You know? Stuff like this.
Yeah.
And then there's the third kind. And this is where there's communication and interaction between humans and beings from another planet. You know? So he's the guy. Later on, people...
Wait. What's the fourth kind?
People come and add stuff after this.
Is that abduction or...
No, I mean, people add stuff after this. Like, I know that one of them is like... And this is the stuff that your man Greer kind of pushes, where, you know, oh, you can make the UFOs come to you, like you just do a bit of meditation and they rock up and stuff like this. Right. But anyway, I suppose the important thing to realize here is that I have an image, if you want to have a look at this. Now, you tell me what that is. This is the real J. Allen Hynek.
That's a pipe.
He's smoking a pipe. He smoked a pipe. Like, he's that kind of guy. He's
Are they
the
watching
kind.
a movie?
I picture him
Are
as.
they in an underground? What's with the dust suits? Or are those?
Well, put it this way, Rachel.
Hang on a minute.
He's not watching a movie. He's in a movie.
Oh.
And what's that movie called?
Oh wait, is that baseball movie?
No. But you will kick yourself when you find out the name of this movie. It's a famous Steven Spielberg movie.
Is this 1990s movie?
It is a famous...
Is this the Close Encounters?
This is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Aha!
That is Hynek in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, what a sellout. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there he is in the things. So, what was I going to say? Yeah.
I was actually just thinking about that movie as we were talking about the different kinds.
The thing about it is that, like, Hynek gets really involved in the UFO stuff, you know?
Okay.
Like I said, he's reading books. He's on the circuit.
Is he just doing this because he wants to be famous?
It's hard to say. Like,
he's like disillusioned and like, meh, it's not real. Like, you can't.
It's actually hard.
It's like, oh, but this will make me money.
It is hard to say because he gets involved with.
Wait, is he still alive?
Hynek, no. He gets involved with this guy, Jacques Villay. He gets involved with this guy, Jacques Villay, who's like he's a French computer scientist, you know? Mm-hmm. Came over to the States early. Like, he's still alive, Villay, but he's like 90 or something. Mm-hmm. But he came over to the States in like the 70s, the early 70s, with a computer science degree. Went to San Francisco. He's basically one of these ground floor tech boom guys. Mm. But I mean, tech back when tech was a room full of transistors, you know what I mean? And so he got involved in that, like, and then in this, the two of them get involved with each other, and then Hynek and Villay, but Hynek is the one that goes and makes a speech at the UN about UFOs, you know? Mm-hmm. And this is sometime in the mid to late 70s. So, like, he's in it up to his ears, you know? Mm-hmm. But he's an important character, you know? So then...
Villay.
Jacques Villay, yeah. Villay. It's, but anyway, I mean, I didn't want to go into it too much, but
you're starting to confuse me.
But just to say, like, that, you know, like... just to say that he got it, that Hynek got into this, you know what I mean?
He got in the movies.
He got in all the movies, he got in all the stuff, you know? And like, just to get we're going to talk about now, like Roswell had happened, you know?
Yeah.
And it had died away and it had just kind of been forgotten about, yeah? Mm-hmm. And then another very important character in kind of UFO lore and stuff comes along. And in 1978, this guy, Stanton Friedman, comes along. He's a physicist, he's a big researcher, he's written a load of books on it, you know? In fact, he's really, like, they always describe him as a physicist, but I would imagine he's more or less like a UFO researcher than a physicist, you know?
Like an astrophysicist?
Just a regular gardener, common variety physics. But like, he's got advanced degrees and stuff like that. But, you know, a lot of his stuff is on UFOs. So in February of 1978, he meets Jesse Marcel. Okay. And he interviews him. Mm-hmm. And basically the whole thing picks up again. Do you want to have a look at Jesse Marcel now in 1978? Let's have a look at him.
Okay.
All right. So that's Jesse Marcel or actually later. And can you see the guy beside him with the beard?
Yeah.
That's Jesse Marcel Jr.
Oh, that's
his son.
Okay.
Now, have you ever seen a TV show from the 90s called Dark Skies? I'll save you the trouble. You probably haven't.
No, I don't think so.
It was from like 1997. It was just before the X-Files came out, you know?
I wasn't allowed to watch that.
Well, me and my brother, when we were kids, we used to pretend to go to bed. Ooh. And then get up at 1 a.m. to watch this show because it was on at 1 a.m. on TV. Because it was so cool. Like, there was like aliens and a conspiracy and everything, you know?
That explains everything.
Now, that show starts at the Roswell stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And it has, because there's a story that Jesse Marcel here, and Jesse Marcel Jr., who's right beside him there with the beard, tells this story as well. I believe to Stanton Friedman. My notes are very bad, like I said, so I don't know really. But he tells the story definitely about his dad bringing home stuff, you know?
Stuff.
Yeah, like...
Aliens.
At this stage now, Marcel's story, like, older Jesse Marcel, his story has morphed into something different, you know? He brought this material home. He has proof that aliens were moving between there and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. I never mentioned, although it would be a dumb moment if I did, because Blue Books and Grudge and Sign and all those, they were based out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Oh.
And it's massive in the UFO thing, because now Marcel seems to be saying, oh, well, I mean, that's where we took the aliens, you know?
Mm-hmm.
His son, Jesse Marcel, also comes home with, and he, like, sometime later, I believe his dad might have passed away at this stage. He said, Junior, yeah, that was in that photo there. He comes home and he's like, oh, you know what? I saw an I-beam, like a really small one, and it had lots of weird writing on it, and he drew this picture. Do you want to check out a picture he drew of this I-beam that was brought home to him?
I-beam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know what?
Sorry, I have to keep reaching to.
Do you know what I mean by an I-beam with the, like, from construction? You know, those
like
metal,
a steel.
Yeah, those metal beams, and they have a cross section like an eye.
Yeah.
So he said like a capital I. So that's it. That's the thing, and you can see there's notes on it. This is from 1989.
That bottom scribble.
Yeah, exactly. Like
on the
he's
left.
the 3rd of October 1989, submitted by Jesse Marcel, MD, and all that. So here we are.
Oh.
So yeah, and then again, Friedman gets really into this, you know, and he releases books about it. Other people start researching it and releasing books, and that's where, like, the explosion, the first that's where the first explosion of kind of like UFO conspiracism comes from, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like from this kind of period where all these books are, and there's a lot of stuff, and the Marcells and stuff. Other people that are talking as well is Bill Brazel. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
His son is talking. The neighbor, Floyd Proctor, he starts giving interviews about what he saw on that night, you know?
Yeah.
And all these things. And then in 1980, all of these accounts are kind of published in the book, you know?
Yeah.
And it's called the Roswell Incident. So that's 1980. Yeah?
Wow.
I've got...
I didn't realize it was that long ago.
It was, yeah. It never really took off at the start. So there's other people as well. There's a guy called Oliver Henderson, you know? And he had passed away, but his wife said that he had told her about how he was involved in the transportation of alien bodies from Roswell to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, you know? Now, he's passed away at the time, but I think the impression I got from reading stuff is that, like, she said that his conscience was at him and it was something niggling, you know? And another person, Marion Magruder, who they call...
Sorry.
Marion Magruder, who they called Black Mac.
Black Mac.
Yeah. So Marion Magruder said that they had seen aliens, and that they had seen them be killed by experiments. He had seen them being transported from Roswell to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He saw an alien at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He saw an alien being killed by experimentation on it. The whole lot. Do you want to have a look at Marion Magruder?
Do I? What? James, that person is wearing like a costume.
He's an Air Force pilot.
Hold on. It looks like he's in a Jesus film.
There was some.
Oh, I see it now. Sorry, I was like.
Yeah, he's wearing goggles. He's wearing goggles.
Sorry, for whatever reason,
do you know what I got? Because of all of the people, just some passing guy, Marion Black Mac Magruder, and I was like, oh my god, that sounds like a made up guy. And I googled him and I saw the image, and I am working on a screenplay.
For real, like how did he get his name?
I don't know, but I think it might be like a boy named Sue kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Guess.
You know, we want this kid to be tough. Call him Marion.
I mean, I know a Billy Mack who served in Vietnam, so
yeah,
you know, but like still. Black Mac Magruder.
Yeah.
What a name. Anyway, sorry. Go on.
Okay, I guess this is gonna take our whole thing to an end. You know, so we've had Roswell happen, a brief thing, and then the resurgence of interest in it, the books that were published. Now people are starting to get suspicious about the government.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, if Marion Black Mac Magruder tells you that he's seen aliens hopping around Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, you best listen to that man.
Hopping around?
Well, he didn't say, he said he's seen a couple of them, yeah, you know. and one of them owed him $10.
I don't think our space brothers would appreciate this.
The aliens involved in this as well are our space brothers.
They are.
They are our space brothers, yeah. And not the bad aliens. So then I guess this is where I've taken incredibly bad notes here. So let me try and get it. This is where the whole thing takes a kind of a sinister turn here.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's the 80s, you know. Miami Vice is on TV, and you know, like the whole people are starting to feel like I can afford a sports car, you know? Mm-hmm. One of those DeLoreans looks pretty sweet. I might get one of them. What could go wrong? It's stainless steel. I'll never have to paint it, you know? So anyway, there's this guy, and he's called Jamie Shendera. All right?
Okay.
And he's a ufologist.
Another ufologist.
A ufologist, yeah? And in 1984, he receives this envelope, yeah? And it's got your classic spy stuff microfilm inside it, right? Mm-hmm. And it's 8 pages. And it describes the setting up of this thing called Operation Majestic 12. Mm. Yeah? And what it is it's supposed to have been set up by Harry S. Truman, you know?
Yeah.
And this was set up in 1952. Okay? Mm-hmm. You'll remember that's kind of when Blue Book started.
Yes.
52, yeah?
Yeah.
So this is set up by Truman. Truman is the same president that signed off on setting up Blue Books. But he's also signed off, apparently at the same time, to this kind of shadow organization. And they're supposed to be... So Blue Books is supposed to research and, you know, basically seen as a debunking thing.
Yeah.
And then Majestic 12 is... He set it up and he's got these 12 guys, yeah? A secret committee of 12.
The Knights of the Round Table.
But they're set up to conceal what's happened at Roswell.
Oh.
And they start this process of like compartmentalizing back in 1952. They start this process of compartmentalizing and all this kind of thing. And this is basically where the whole government conspiracy, secret technology from the aliens kind of stuff comes from.
Luna is suspicious.
And that's it. That's the Majestic 12 side of it.
So
yeah.
of course you have to have like an organization to...
Well, they're yeah, that's what it is. But they're part of their job as well is supposed to be like...
Weren't they... Is this the same organization that was created to create misinformation to drive people away from the truth?
There's definitely a sense of that, all right. Like then,
so said by government officials.
Well, you see, this is the thing. These are the phases as I see it. Like the first phase is from the Roswell incident to the formation of the Roswell conspiracy. You know,
yeah,
which is basically 1980.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a second phase then, and the second phase basically goes from like 1980. Or 1984 with this Majestic 12 thing, all the way up to about 1990.
Okay.
You know? And what that is that's the government is out to get us, they're hiding stuff from us. You know? Mm-hmm. Kind of phase. And then the phase after that, starting in like kind of basically the start of the 90s, that's where you get your Bob Lazar phase, you know? And that's where you've got like guys coming out, like Bob Lazar came out, and he came out to George Knapp, you know? Mm-hmm. And he said, I've been working out here at this Area 51, and we got all kinds of technology out there, you know? And I mean, that in itself is a story. But that's the next phase that happens then in the 90s and stuff, you know? And now what we're in kind of... You know, and
now.
Yeah, well, no. Like in the Bob Lazar phase, then you've got a lot of guys like Richard Doty, and you know what I mean, who are the guys with former Air Force and military intelligence credentials that are showing up saying crazy stuff, you know. Like Dodie's like literally saying, "Oh yeah, I can confirm aliens. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, they were moved from here to here." And I believe he even said one of them, the name was B or Bay or something like that. You know.
Bay.
And I mean, without looking it up, there's loads of other guys like him. You know. That are kind of like, you know, acted
that used to be in the military and are now like tattling, but they're
it's not what there's people that have tattled before, you know, claiming to have been in the military and stuff like this. But what these guys are doing is they're out there, they're tattling, but they're also saying, "Oh yeah, I used to be in military intelligence. Oh yeah, this is exactly how we'd run a psyop. Yeah, go in there, lie to people, tell them what they want to hear." Do you know what I mean? They're saying these things at the same time as they're telling you what you want to hear, you know? And it's in that way, it's very strange. Like there's another character involved in the UFO thing called Linda Moulton Howe, you know? If you've ever heard of the cattle mutilation side of it, you know? Which again happens kind of around this area is it the Southwest or whatever?
Was that in the 50s?
No, this would have been in the 80s and 90s. She's still around. She would have definitely been involved with Doty and stuff, and he was telling her every week that he was going to be providing any moment now the information about that'll prove it, you know.
Can you briefly just say what the cattle incident is so that people who are watching this understand what you're saying?
Oh, sorry, she worked for a local affiliate, you know. Is that what you call them, where they're part of a bigger station or whatever, like a local affiliate in Arizona?
You mean like a franchise?
No, you know the way you got like, we're going now to KBW local affiliate, you know, our local. Do you know when you got when you've got a news station, like, and they've got, you know what I mean, like KWBX is the voice of Fox or CNN in this area.
Yeah, that's
you know,
a radio station.
This was a kind of new. This was a video one, I'm pretty sure, because I've seen the video she made.
Oh.
Like she won I believe she
like
won
a local news station.
She's a local reporter, you know.
Okay.
And I think she's working out of Tucson. And basically, these ranchers start coming up to her and saying, "Oh, that their cattle are being mutilated, and you know their eyeballs or gallbladders are being removed with surgical precision in the middle of the night and stuff." Like if you're a follower of UFO lore, like you'll know what the cattle mutilation stuff is, you know. But if you're not, that's what it is.
Thank you.
That this lady, and then other people got it. Other people had got it and ran with it and stuff. And I know that it became a hugely popular thread, kind of in South America and stuff like that. Okay. You know, where they got a lot of cattle. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Okay. Yes, I got you.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, like that's basically what it is. That's the UFO conspiracy in a nutshell.
The timeline.
That's the timeline of it. That's where it comes from. Yeah. Do you remember when we were talking about dark skies? Remember I said that kind of like
UFO,
TV show? Huh? Yeah. There's a bit in it. I had a picture of Jesse Marcel Jr. holding up his drawing of the I-beam, you know? Mm-hmm. And there's a bit in Dark Skies where they show that whole thing where Jesse Marcel brings home to his family, and his son Jesse Marcel Jr., who's about 10 or 12, is on the floor holding the I-beam. And I specifically remember that from when I was a kid, like watching this show. And I wanted to get that image and have the real Jesse Marcel holding up, you know, to show how intertwined with popular culture and you know, all of these things are, you know?
Yeah.
Like Aidan Gillen is Hynek now. Hynek was a different doctor, maybe himself in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, you know. But surprisingly, for a TV show that only ran for one season, there's almost no images of it online. Would you believe that, Rachel? Would you believe that?
Do you think that you're a victim of the Mandela effect?
No, absolutely no. I mean, it's on IMDb, like, and you know, and it was a pretty good show. It was a lot. The problem with it was that they showed the aliens in the first episode, in the first season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they'd have kept all that a secret and stuff. And the aliens, if I remember correctly, had this like when people would see them, it was like classic old school sci-fi. They'd be like this, people would be like, oh, because the aliens could send these beams out of their head to give you a really bad migraine. It was their weapon, was like really bad migraines.
Really bad sound wave migraines.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, are there any questions? I could probably make something up if you...
Well, I mean, if you've seen Dark Skies, I would love you to comment below and let us know, because I've never seen it. I've never even heard of it, to be honest.
You've never heard of Dark Skies?
Nope.
It's, yeah, I mean, I really liked it.
But I mean, in 1997,
I don't even think it was, I think it was earlier than that.
A very young teenager.
I think I was like, oh gee.
A very sheltered and young teenager.
You can find it on YouTube.
Okay.
Because I got up the episode that I thought it was in. It's not episode 1. And I started watching it to see if I could get a screen grab of him. I really wanted it to happen. To see if I could get a screen grab of him holding it. And I couldn't. And then when I was like fast forwarding through the second episode, I was like, you were actually silly, James. Just get on with your life. You know?
It just shows the dedication that you have to these episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I would have... I guess I was about 15.
50? You... In 97?
Or was I older than that? 16?
You're way older than that.
Jeez, I was, yeah.
We have an 8-year difference.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I was 9 in 1997.
Yeah. But so I mean, I guess it's that I wish I had had the time to do it when I had actually made the notes originally, because there was a lot of other stuff.
Sarah, that's okay. Thank you so much for coming back. We're going to have more episodes of Theory Tuesday coming up soon, and we're going to be talking about in the next episode, we're going to be talking about the cryptids that have just released in the Cryptid Stitch Along by the Witchy Stitcher, just to incorporate those into in their backstories into the channel, so that you know what I'm talking about when I show you pictures of them. But thank you, James.
Yeah, no problem. A pleasure. Yeah,
I got a lot done, so thank you very much.
Always
for
good
that.
crack. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And if you really like this episode, please don't forget to like and share down below, as well as subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, because this is a weekly thing. Again.
Hooray!
Yay! So, thank you so much for your support. We hope to see you again next week, and I will see you all tomorrow for my next video. Take care, everyone.
Bye!
Bye!